Welcome back to Building Nebraska, a podcast for dreamers and doers. We'll ignite your passion for entrepreneurship while telling the stories of those who turn ideas into reality. Building Nebraska is brought to you by the Engler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Today we are in Arthur, Nebraska, and I'm joined by Jason and Kari Christensen. We are at Crusty's Feed Store. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that we have some unconventional chairs today. We're sitting on some feed stacks, so we're getting the authentic experience. But to kick things off, tell us about your entrepreneurship journey and how Crusty's was born.
Crusty's was born 7.5 years ago. We decided to, I was working for a feed company, had been ranching before that, and the feed store here in Arthur, they were looking for a manager. I didn't want to be a manager, so I talked to CHS about buying it. Long story short, they said, we have the best feed salesman in the Sandhills. Why would we buy the feed store? So I came home to Kari and I says, we're buying the feed store. So I called up to Vinton Feed Store and says, hey, I'll take it. So that's what started Crusty's. We were both didn't know what we were doing. I mean, we deal with entrepreneurship, but it's been a great ride for us. We love servicing people, and we love, like our motto is, your cows are our cows. If your cows do good, we do good. So yeah, it was something I didn't know if I thought I'd be a ranch hand or, a salesman forever. And, finally we became an owner. So it was kind of cool.
So talk a little bit about the early days of opening the feed store. It seems to me kind of like a trial by fire experience, figuring it out as you go. What were those early days like?
Stressful. It's been a good run. This is all completely new to me. I grew up in a very rural community in Montana, an egg-based community. But as far as dealing with feed and with the livestock and all of that is new to me. I have a bit of an entrepreneurial background in lots of different areas. So the concept of the business part really wasn't too scary. And thankfully we started small. And so we could kind of grow our brains along with the business. And that's helped. I think if we were to jump in right where we're at today, I would be very overwhelmed. But we kind of started slowly, and it's been fun to watch it grow.
Yeah, I mean, this building was not here when we started the feed store, so that was pretty stressful for us. We sat at that door over there and looked in here the day we put the concrete in. We're like, how are we going to fill this feed store? And now she's full, So
Jason, prior to the opportunity of buying the feed store, did you ever see yourself as an entrepreneur?
No, I didn't, and that's why, going through the LEAD program for me and going to the Engler, and sitting down with those kids, it got that fire going in me that I wanted to help promote that program, because Kari and I both being through the LEAD program and going up to the Engler's, third story class or office, whatever you want to call it, up there on East Campus it lit a fire in me. I love it. I like to see those kids.
I think that gave you the confidence to step out. I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur when I wanted this feed store, because I knew I could make something work, and I wanted to keep the feed store in Arthur, because I know there's a lot of good people here that need it. So, I didn't never see myself as an entrepreneur. I just thought I just go along and be a ranch hand or, a feed salesman down the road. But I'm very glad that we did it, and very glad to have her by my side. Without her, I couldn't do it. She's 95% of it behind the scenes. So.
Very cool. Well, there are lots of feed stores across the state in small communities, but Crusty's has really differentiated itself and has a very identifiable name and brand identity. How have you pushed the status quo, I guess, when it comes to being a feed store in a rural community? I guess we just wanted it to be, I'm competitive. I want to be the best that I can be for everybody. Whether it's, selling feed or making your cows look better, yada, yada. But the status quo, we just want to be the best that we could be.
So you kind of hit the nail on the head. We're both very competitive. So I think that helps and makes it stressful all at the same time. But I think one of the things that, one of the visions that Jason had when we started this was he didn't want to have a store that had one vendor that had one type of product. He wanted to be able to have, when you walk in the door, to say, okay, what are your goals? What do you need? And how can we help you with that? And to have different options of that. And I think that's one way that we've been a little bit different. A lot of the feed companies, that we get our products through would rather you just sold their product, and I understand that, but our goal was to focus more on the service part of it and to be able to help anybody that walks in the door and have different tools to do that. And I think that's one way that's kind of set it a little bit apart from.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's, I wanted a little bit of everything because, as you know, everybody's different. Everybody wants a little bit of something different. You look in here, we've got a little bit of everything that's different, but everybody buys something that's in here. And that's worked for us. I'll sell to anybody if they need it, and I'm not afraid to work on a Saturday or Sunday. I've pulled in the middle of Cavan on a Sunday and guys are like, what are you doing? I'm like, you needed this, didn't you? You're out of tubs yesterday. I mean, we're here. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing is don't be afraid to work. I mean, that's, we're not seeing that as much in our society.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, over the last 7 to 8 years, what have been some major growth areas of the business, and what do you think has contributed to the growth in those areas?
Maybe the brand has helped us. People will call from, Gothenburg or, Valentine, or we get people coming from as far as Shattern sometimes to get posts or something. I mean, that, I think the brand and, trying to get it out there and, hey, we're here to help you, and help you get what you need, is what's helped us the most, I think.
And I don't think you can beat general word of mouth either, the ag community is very social. So, people go to rodeo and say, well, been having this struggle. What did you do? Well, Crusty's had this, and so then we get a call on Monday saying, hey, so-and-so said you were helping them with this. What do you got for this? And I think if you take care of people, they take care of you. And that's
most definitely.
Well, as part of the branding conversation, we were talking before we started recording about the iconic Krusty's caps. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about those and also give a little backstory on the name of the business?
Yeah, I'll go on the backstory of the name, Crusty. It's my nickname. So as a kid, I was playing baseball in Oglala, playing for the Oglala Midgets back then, and you're 12 or 13, 14 years old. And that was a couple days ago. But we had a gentleman by the name of George Graham. We called him Graham Cracker, back in the kids always making up nicknames. And they called me Christy for short for Christensen. And I was going up to bat, and Cracker he might have had a toddy or two, and he yells, "Come on, Crusty!" And it stuck. And so all my teammates from then on, called me Crusty. But, it stuck and always has for the last, that was 35, 40 years ago. But like with the branding deal, we decided when we bought the store, I reached out to a friend who knew a friend that did, the logo graphics, and he sent back 3, I believe, different logos, and the kids were with us, and we asked them which logo they liked the best, and they picked this one. And then got a hold of my good friend at Scottsbluff Screen Print, Shane Wilson up there. He put together the cap, sent a cap back, and it just this is basically the original one, other than the Arthur, Nebraska on it. And Kari thought I was crazy because the Richardson caps at that time were probably the most expensive, mm-hmm. but they were the best. I want a quality cap. Like I said, I don't want a backseat cap. I want a cap that the guy's going to wear. And then we had 3 of them. We had a gray, a red, and a black. And now we have 70 different colors and probably 6 or 8 different styles.
And I've shipped them to pretty much every state and several countries. It's crazy. It used to be that if somebody would order a cap, we could figure out, how we knew them. We don't have any idea anymore. It's been fun.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I know John Cook himself has been seen in public sporting a Krusty's cap. And a fun story, I did an internship in college in Fort Worth, and I was milling around the stockyards, and it caught my eye. I was walking down the street, and I saw a Krusty's cap, and sure enough, it was a Nebraskan, but I would have walked right past them had I not seen their cap. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool to see. And Coach Cook, I just told Kari one day, I'm sending Coach Cook. I'd sent some to Coach Frost at the time, and I said, I'm going to send one to Coach Cook, and I sent one to Coach Hoiberg and Coach Williams. And Coach Cook, put it on an Instagram. Well, it just blew up. And then that next day we had like 35 cap orders, And but then Coach Cook personally thanked us. We've seen him since then at a Vitalix meeting we had last winter at Keneally's, and was just tickled. And then we see him wearing it. He was in his when he was roping with the girls. He took him out to that roping, and he was wearing it then. And so it's pretty cool to see.
Well, running a business is a challenge in of itself, but running a feed store is a very unique business model. What have been some of the biggest things you've learned throughout the last few years?
Oh, I was not a nutritionist, and I'm not today, but, all of the stuff that goes into nutrition into a cow. I could sell it to you, but I didn't know when I started it, when we were ranching, it was just, hey, they bought us a bag of mineral or a pallet of mineral or whatnot, and this is what it's going to be. We're going to put that in the cow or whatever. But, now understanding a bag of mineral, understanding, what some creep's going to do for calves or what we can do for your show calves. I had no idea the show calves were so big in this area especially, and they're huge in the state. But, there's so many variables that I knew maybe 5% when we started, and I probably know 7% now. But, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of a feed store, I think of it sort of as a gathering place too, where people can come have a cup of coffee, where they might share a little small town gossip and also pick up their salt box.
Yes. Most definitely.
What is it like to serve a rural community, specifically one right here in the Sandhills?
Well, having grown up in a small town, that was not a big shocker. And, there's always that round table or that, couch that people gather on. And the gossip is shared. And so every Monday, I typically bake, whether it's cookies or cinnamon rolls or something like that, and have those available with the coffee. And we do get some of the locals that come out, and we learn all the gossip at the same time. So it's kind of fun.
Win-win.
Yeah. No, and that's it. It's a local gathering spot, whether it's
they're friends. It's fun.
Whether it's the grocery store downtown or out at Crusty's or maybe at the bar, but. They come in, there are people who call and say, did Kari make cinnamon rolls today? Or Kari make cookies? Yep, they're sitting there. So they'll make a special trip to town for that. So, that's kind of a cool little deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there anything that's unique to being in such a rich ranching community that makes running your business a little bit different? I know you have worked in the area prior to running the feed store, so did those connections and relationships come in handy when you made this transition?
Oh, yeah. You're networking. It's huge. A lot of people are very loyal in this country. Sandhillers are loyal people. And so for me being in the community, I'd be at a branding, you go to 30-some brandings a year, so you're with those people. So it took a little while, but
and that's also been a little bit of a hard point.
Yes.
As we've gotten busier, is he's not free to go to all the brandings, and because if you go to one, you kind of have to go to all of them, and that's a time constraint he's really not. And I'm not the feed salesman
that shows up at 11:30 and gets a free meal. That's not me. I don't want to be that guy that shows up at the branding meal. They just got done wrestling 1,000 head of calves, and here comes Crusty. He's going to give him a free steak. I'm not that guy.
So it's a popularity contest. Who can get Jason to show up to the branding?
Yes, but no. Like you said, these people in this country are just unbelievably loyal.
Couldn't find a better place to have this business than
and
here.
To live. It's just heart of the earth people. We're blessed.
So when it comes to running a business in a rural community, what advice would you give someone when it comes to taking the leap and starting a business in a place where many may say that there really isn't that much opportunity?
Don't be afraid.
Yep.
Don't be afraid. And
Take
I think
the leap.
if you treat people right, it will pay off. I think that's...
If you're honest and loyal and you treat people right, they'll take care of you. Take the leap. What do you got to lose? I've heard from several very successful people, you may fail. Get up again,
learn
grab your
from it
bootstraps and try
keep
another
going.
one, but you're not going to know if you don't try, and that's the way we were. We were scared. I was more dumb probably. She was probably scared, but that first year was just kind of a whirlwind, but I learned a lot, but it was great.
That first week was a little bit scary because we had just bought this business, and like we were saying before, we didn't yet we didn't have a corporate name, so we had product that was leaving the building, but we didn't have any money coming in, and that was where the discussion of the store's name came in, and that was a scary month.
Yeah.
That first month was a little bit scary, but we just had faith in each other and in the thought, in the concept, and yeah.
So despite the fear or the challenges that come with operating a business, what has been the most rewarding part?
Watching it grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely. And, watching it grow, but seeing the expansion and the people from the outer ring calling and saying, hey, do you deliver over here? Yeah, we'll go anywhere. Within reason. I mean, we go to Kadoka, South Dakota. We're not afraid to cover some country. I mean, I'll drive to Texas to pick up product to bring back here.
The hardest part, especially being in a small community, is you get hit up from absolutely everybody that wants you to sponsor this or sponsor that. And he is a very big-hearted guy. And his name might be Crusty, but he's got a big heart, and they know it. And that's really probably one of the biggest struggles is we want to help everybody. And, don't talk to our banker because he might. But that's one of the blessings and hard parts of being in a small community.
Yep.
Is everybody and you want to help everybody. And
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there.
So with all this growth that is continuing to happen, what are some goals you have in the next year or in the next few years for the business and for your journey as entrepreneurs?
My goal is I would love to see some family come back, some of my kids, and want to take over eventually. That would be my main goal. I mean, other than take care of my customers, but I would like to see this business go on, and I don't want it to just be a one-generational deal for me. And I've got a couple kids that have talked about it, so that would be my main goal because I'd like to see them entrepreneurial. I
want to turn it into a legacy.
Yes. And I wouldn't mind expanding eventually if it's just trying to find somebody in the workforce that you can trust to, take care of the books. And there's a lot of QuickBooks kind of information that you got to figure out. She does all that.
He has these big dreams of having, satellite stores, and all I can think of is the stress of the books.
Yep.
And, so that's
It's a good balance.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
That's a good segue, though. What is it like to operate a business with your spouse, and how do you navigate that relationship day to day?
You saw how our desks are set up, and we basically share an office, and we face each other every day. There are days when I need to take a walk.
Or there's days I just need to go drive.
Yep.
No.
All in all, I think we've handled it well.
I mean, yeah, it has its moments, but our faith has kept us together. I mean, that's been a very strong point for us that we fall back on. I couldn't do any of this without her, and I know that. Yes, I can be a bear some days. I know that.
And I can be sensitive some days.
Yes, but we know each other. That's the way we're blessed in our relationship. We're blessed in our faith. We know that He'll take care of us if we take care of Him. And everything that He does. So yeah, I trust her with everything. I mean, it's got to be a lot of trust. Yes, it can be difficult running a business with your spouse,
But it's also rewarding.
yes, yep, very much so.
I'm going to get emotional.
Well, with that, elaborate on how you see your two roles in the business and how you kind of play on each other's strengths.
Her role, she's been entrepreneurial for her whole life. There's a few people around in town that she used to run a little called the Kari's Kitchen, and did a phenomenal job with that for several years in this community. She's also used to make a lot of cakes, so for weddings, for birthdays, for yada yada. And there's people that to this day talk so highly about her. And her role is behind the scenes. I mean, yes, she's gotten really. When she started, she was very introverted about talking to people.
Well, I didn't understand the feed
Right.
process. I have learned a lot about feed, but so now when people call with questions, sometimes I know the answers.
Yeah.
But no, my role is more the books. And there are days when I've got a lot of book work and a lot of stuff to get caught up on that I'll put my headphones in and kind of block the world out, and he handles the people, and it works.
The other thing is we've got great employees
Yeah.
with Dan and Paul. Paul's usually on the road, or if he's not PRCA rodeo judging. Dan Powers is here, and if we've got to get away, he does a phenomenal job for us, and never shies away from working if he I mean, it's just, we're very blessed. My deal is I'm either Dan or I are either delivering or getting out of there. So yeah, I'm just when she's hermiting over there in the corner with her headphones in, I'm talking to everybody. So
Yep.
yeah.
So we could ask you questions all afternoon, but what would you like to leave people with?
Don't be afraid to be an entrepreneur. Don't let that hold you back. If it's a dream of yours, do it. You know, like us, we just started another job with a part-time gig with Whitetail Properties doing real estate in the Sandhills. So, I mean, I'm 54. If there's something else comes up, maybe I'll look at that too. But, you know, I mean, don't be afraid to do something. If I mean, there's an opportunity there. Find a good banker that sees your vision as well.
If
and
you
try it.
let the fear of failure stop you from trying, you'll never succeed.
And you probably always work for somebody else. And it's not bad work. I mean, sometimes it's not the best to work for yourself,
Nice.
but the positives outweigh the negatives by far. So yeah, we're very blessed.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today and being so willing to share your story. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
And now if you're watching on
Now-
YouTube, we have a visitor.
Yep,
the
Cashley just
greeting
showed
committee
up.
here at Crusty's Feed Store. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Building Nebraska. Special thanks to our friends at the Angler Agribusiness Entrepreneurship Program for their support of this program. We'll see you next time.